Welcome to the Milt Talk Legacy Builders podcast, a place where Milts can connect to one another to inspire, motivate, and collaborate to continue to build a strong and well-connected alumni association. I believe that Milton Hershey School rebranding is actually just getting started, and I want to be part of that journey. I think the best way to commemorate Milton and Catherine Hershey is to continue our own legacy that impacts the world as Milton Hershey so impacted us. I believe the level of extraordinary that each and every Milt carries within them is deeply underestimated, and this podcast will help in the journey to show off what Milts are really made of. I'm excited to get to know more Milts, more insight to their upbringing, and what they're doing now to build their legacy and bring value to others, and what being a Milt really means to them. Today, I'm talking to Greg Hawthorne Jr. He's class of 2001, and he is the founder of Thorne Training and Therapy and the director of General Performance and Wellness at One Step Away Athletics and an adjunct professor at Mercer University. So Greg, you got so much going on right now. Just reading that out loud blows me away. So I'm so intrigued and I'm excited to get into this and ask you some questions. But first, what year did you get to Milton Hershey?
Oh shoot, what year? Oh, thanks for having me on the podcast one in the
Yeah,
talk.
sure.
Definitely. What year was it? I'm gonna say it's like 92 or 91. I was 8. So I remember I was 8 years old. And I remember because I always tell everybody when I talk about the school, I was like, I spent the majority of my life there by the time I graduated, because we were 18. So I was like, I spent 10 years by the time I graduated. So yeah, I think I was 8. It was 3rd grade.
Okay. Wow. I was 10. So you were 2 years younger than me, but older than me. Wow. Okay. So now when you graduated, you said earlier that you had gotten into what first? Like what did you study when you initially graduated?
So upon graduating, I went to University of Michigan for grad school. Would not have happened without Milton Hershey because that was an expensive school. And at that time, we had that full ride deal. As long as we applied for FAFSA and applied for financial aid, and because that was Michigan's an expensive school. So
sure.
And so I went there, but I was going to I went to school to with the idea of becoming a surgeon of some sort of shape. But I also majored in athletic training because I did that in school with Dennis Mahaffey. I don't know if anybody remembers him, but he was the ATC. And once I couldn't play sports anymore due to heart condition, I started working with him, and I realized I really liked that. And so I was going to segue the experience of athletic training and dive into orthopedics and dive into surgery in med school after that. But then things changed in school.
Yeah. So now what was that process of, you finished school and then you said you did go on to graduate school?
Yes.
And then from there, were you also working simultaneously?
So how this works, so I guess I graduated, 01, and then started school right away. So I didn't take a year off or anything like that. So I went there for undergrad. You go like prereqs essentially for freshman year, and then athletic training starts your sophomore year. So you apply, get in limited spots sophomore year. So we did that. Again, halfway through, physics and time is just like, I'm in the job for the money was the high point. I'm like, I really don't want to deal with this time. I really like athletic training. And because of how the program was then, you were working almost with the sports teams, but like it was part of your curriculum. Okay. And so we were busy doing that the whole time. So like that was back before they had like set hours. And so like we put in 40, 50 hours a week essentially with the teams. And that was a lot because, injuries happen when they happen. If you're not there, you miss it. And so the goal would be to spend time there, be around there so you can be available so you can see when things happen, right? You can't just cue an injury. Wow. So the experience was important. So you work with the sports team. So I wasn't working per se, but after I graduated undergrad, I knew by the time I graduated, I knew I wanted to work in the NFL. So my goal was, my goal of growing up, wanted to play in the NFL. Heart condition, things like that, limited me from doing so. So my goal then at that point was make the NFL some way. And so athletic training was going to be my route. And so I did really well with the Michigan football team, working with them. And so they gave me recommendations. So then I spent a year in between undergrad and grad school, and I worked for NFL, the Detroit Lions for a year. Okay. Did well with them. And so they referred me to NFL Europe. So then that next year, I was the 05 season. Okay. Work with the Lions. Yeah. And then after that 06 NFL Europe season, I went to Europe, lived there for 3 months, worked NFL Europe. And then during that time, I played for grad school and went to Michigan State after that for grad school.
Nice. So in Europe, you were in Germany, right?
Yeah, we were in Dusseldorf.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
So so you were well traveled there. You got to do some international work too. That's so awesome.
Yeah, no, experiences. It's just like, it's all about experiences for me.
Absolutely. And you have as I was going through your bio, you have so much experience, which is so awesome. Now, from all of that, I'll call it, corporate America work, what then caused you to start your own private practice also?
So I'm not, we're saying entrepreneurial at heart per se. I like to work with people, like for me, I'm not a big risk taker, which is like, that's tough for an entrepreneur, right? Because you almost have to take risks. So I mitigate risk at all the time. So I've been really slow at it. So I worked for the teams. And then after my wife got a job, so we moved to Georgia, I worked for the Air Force Base. I worked for the Air Force from 2013 until this past November. So March 2013 to November 2020. But after I left the NFL, my whole thought in colleges, I worked at colleges, it was like, I don't understand why we don't have a community setup where it's just like the university setup, because the thing about, same in the military, the goal was to set it up like a college team, because if it's for profit, right? Or colleges aren't for profit.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. But NFL, like professional sports, is like for profit. And so like the setup is set up to generate money, right? It's not, and to take care of people at the same time. So it has to make sense. And so with the Air Force, it made sense to kind of have it. And for me, like community, it makes sense to have it because it's one that spreads work out, but it also gives the client or the person the best options. And what I mean by that is at the university and at the professional setting, everything's in-house, right? You have from a sports standpoint, we're thinking sports and community health, I guess. So you have your medical inside house, you have your strength conditioning inside house, college, you have your tutors in-house, you have all these things all in one building. So you go in one building, one situation, right? So one location, everything's there. And so if you're an athlete, it's just like, or if you're trying to do something from a health standpoint, having everything under one house helps with consistency of care, ease of, barrier to entry, things along those lines, because everything's right there. And if you loop it under one price, you can usually have a much better value at that point. Right. And so I always had a thought process, like, why don't we have it set up like that of a community health situation? And so my thought process after leaving NFL was I knew based on what the salaries are for athletic trainers in general, that I know if I wasn't in professional sports, I probably was going to be an atypical athletic trainer, just because you don't get paid well at all. Like even in colleges, you don't really get paid well. And so for me, it was like, I need to go pro because that's where the money is. And even some pro teams don't pay well for us in this huge disparity, I should say, between like the coaches and what we do. And that's based on the history of athletic training, things along those lines. Right. So I knew I didn't want to do something different, but I also knew I didn't want to do it alone, because I know for myself, I have weaknesses, and I know I have certain things where I would slack and I can't ask for money. I'm terrible at that. It's just, so I knew I wanted to do that. So so by 2013 was literally, I was thinking about doing it. Yeah. And so I was on base until 2020. And that wasn't even my choice to leave base. We got to fund it just based on, numbers and things like that. And so we had to fund it. So it was like I was forced, but had already started the private practice about 2 years beforehand on like a part-time side hustle level. Right. And so that was my goal. But as an athletic trainer, the issue with that was it took that long even to get to private practice, because there's certain legal issues with athletic training. So as an athletic trainer, I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a massage therapist. I'm not a doctor. And so we're kind of in between. So like, because of what we have to have oversight, if you will, from a doctor. So we have some kind of referral from a doctor. So there is no direct access. Most physical therapists have that now. Some states, they still don't have it. So you have to have like a referral from a doctor. And so I had to figure out, could I even see people on my own without having some kind of direct oversight? And so it turns out within Georgia, the licensor allows me to see someone with just a general physical therapy prescription. Okay. And so I was like, okay, we can do it that way. And so that's how I started. And it was more like house to house at that point. It was like, hey, look, I had some friends, bodybuilders, I worked out. And so like, hey, my shoulder hurts. I'm like, cool, did you ever get hurt? I get a referral from your doctor, and I could work with you then, and we do some hands-on stuff. So we started that route. And so then I started looking into it. And it's like, well, I wanted more direct access. We have to do more things. And so I started trying to cultivate relationships with the local doctors or local locations. The issue is like, most places, if you're there for a while, you build a relationship with a doctor as an athletic trainer, just because you work at a school, yada, yada, yada. And so you can just easily talk to them. But I didn't have that. And I'm in a small town. And so it's really about who you know in these small towns.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to build that over time. Turns out I get hurt. I tear my knee up. I tore my patella tendon. So I pops it off and I had surgery with one of the doctors there who I actually like. And so I use that kind of time to kind of show them I know my stuff, kind of help with the rehab myself, things like that, had conversations, intelligent. So I use that to leverage a partnership with him. Okay. And so then I was able to talk with him about saying, hey, this is what I want to do. It hasn't been done. It's not very popular with athletic training in general. So, I mean, there aren't a lot of private practice athletic trainers. Right. And so I went to him and we had a conversation. I had my cousin, he helped me write up a contract from the website, kind of has contract for schools. And so we took that, we finagled it. My cousin's a lawyer. And so I had him kind of in contract law too. So I had him look over it, kind of help me script that up. And I talked to him and he was like, all right, let me run it through my channels because he's part of a big box ortho clinic. It took 7 months for them just to run legal and all this other stuff. Right. And so finally gave back, said, yeah, we can do it. And it's great. It's worked out gangbusters for him. Like he's like, I'm constantly sending people for surgeries and things like that. So like it's working out great for him. It works out great for me because I can do what I want now.
Right.
And so there was that aspect of it. So we got that done at the same time. Now I was kind of finding the right partners to go with. And so I've actually been to 2 different locations now just because of different things and what I want to do.
Yeah.
But finding the right people. And again, it's serendipitous. I tore my knee up actually while I was talking with someone and we were working out together to kind of, hey, this is what I do normally, yada, yada. And then I hurt myself and I'm like, oh, I'm the rehab guy and I tore my knee up, right? And so it was like, all right, but it worked out well anyways.
Yeah.
And so we moved forward with that. And so I started like the legit entrepreneurial stuff and I was still working on base. So it was like after hours. So I had to put in the extra hours after work. And then the base job was supporting essentially the entrepreneurial gig, covering the rent, covering the cost of things. And so that was good. And then so we slowly try to build it up from there.
Yeah. And that's awesome. It's great. So many times, with entrepreneurship, it's really great to have something that's consistent and steady that is helping to fund then, your entrepreneurial pursuit and endeavor.
Yeah, but it's like a double-edged sword too, right? Because like you have that safety net.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, I could do it next time. I can push them down. At least for me, that's how it was. It's like,
yes.
So I always have this, like, I can always, if it doesn't work out, I always have that. And so like, you don't have that full, oh shit, no parachute type deal, right? I got to learn how to, I got to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
And so, and that was definitely in my head. But at the same time, it also allowed, because I'm very, I guess, giving. Mm-hmm. My whole thing is like, that's always been my issue, is like martyrdom, right? I'll jump on the sword for you guys because I always feel like I have more to lose, or I have less to lose. I can always like, I'm gonna land on my feet. I'm gonna be okay. I always feel that way. And so like, I'm like, I don't need to get paid yet. Y'all take care of this. You guys have this. Like, I tend to do that a lot. Right. And then it's just like, but I can't necessarily do that because that's not realistic, right? And some people get comfortable sometimes, right? And it's like, look, we have to set up, like, we're going to set it up, see if this is legit, because it was a new idea, new concept. Yeah. Is this even relevant? Like, will this work? Is it proper, right? And so if we keep funneling things, we don't set it up like we're supposed to, we'll never have a real picture. Exactly. And so we had to work that out as well.
Yeah, that's so good, and I'm glad you guys knew that and caught that early. Because it is hard to kind of get a scope of it if you're not doing it the right way and you're not able to track, the numbers, the progress, the revenue, what your cost analysis is and all of that. And then being able to pay everybody that is putting in work. Yeah, that's really awesome. So now you have, is it 2 partners, 1 partner, or how's the
I was at a place called the Lab Sports Complex. And that's actually where I met the guys I'm at now. So currently I'm at One Step Away Athletics. So it's technically like the original one was 3 businesses, or the second one was like 5 businesses. So it was like, I'd say like a strip mall for performance and health, like sports performance. So we had myself, a strength conditioning group, basketball group, another basketball/track group, which is where there was an issue, boxing group, and then we had a tutor. So we're all separate businesses under one roof, which is cool and all. But the goal for me was like, look, if it's all separate things, we still have to a la carte everything, right? Or we have to have one payment system, or one like this is going to be confusing for people, or this is a lot more steps an individual has to take. And if you do the research, it's like the more steps someone has to take, the less likely they're going to end up buying. You end up closing, and so we had issues there, and that actually ended up being a big issue. On top of that. And me, I knew I wanted to play a little bit more role from a strength conditioning, like GPP standpoint, as well as a rehab and a recovery aspect of things. But we already had a strength group there, and my goal was to partner with them, but they kept bringing on some more people. And it was just like, and I get it, because again, I was working on base, the hours were a little bit different, you know, things like that. So we ended up having to part ways because of that. And so now we're here, and there's 3 businesses now. So it's One Step Away was the OG, but he funded everything. And so I'm like, it's your, we'll keep the name, and now just come under you. I'm fine with that. Thorne Training and Therapy, and then Rhein, but that's actually, he's changing his name to he's our tutor, super smart guy, ACT, SET, created tests and things like that. And our tutor guy, who's also a basketball coach, we're all together. So it's Rhein right now, but I believe he's changing his name. But there's 3 companies under one roof, but now we do business under just One Step Away Athletics. And so now we're just One Step Away Athletics, and it's all in house, and everything's covered under one price at that point. So we have it set up that way, so there's no touches or things like that. Now one-on-ones are a little bit different. So like, we have the group set up, so it's us, you pay a certain thing, you get a package, you get this access to the facility, and that's it, right? You don't have to worry about anything else. You get hurt, completely hurt, and you need rehab, that's different. And then you would see me, and then your payment would be under Thorne Training and Therapy. If you need hard tutoring one-on-one, off hours tutoring one-on-one, you see him, our tutor. And then if you need one-on-one skills coaching, you see them. But those are during off hours at that point. So you have it set up that way, so it's easier. The goal is to essentially come together as one. So they have all that. We also have within the gym, we have like open runs, adult leagues, little events. And so if I work them or I help with them, I'm a part of it. If not, I'm not a part of it, if that makes sense. And that's partially me. Like, I'm big fan of the family, and I spend time with my kids. And so it's like, if the weekends are something's going on weekend, I'm gonna go see my kids, right? It's like, if I don't need to be here, if I don't need this money, you guys take it. I don't want to spend that time there. And like, for me, like, if I'm not spending time there, I'm not deserving it. But if I'm doing marketing for you or something like that, I'm going to take a little percentage, you know? And so, and that's that conversation we had.
Yeah, nice. And that's like the beauty too of having a business that's kind of running that way, is when you kind of make your own schedule and you can decide, you know, how much you want to be in and how much you want to, you know, spend with your family or take some time away.
Right. Having partners helps, because it's just constant. Like, even if I market for Thorne Training and Therapy for certain things, it's still in this building. And it's like, I'm always going to bring it one step away. And like, he's always going to bring up me, and I'm always going to bring the tutor, and the tutor's always going to bring up me, you know? So it's like, we're always, so even if I'm trying to spend time with my family or they have to go somewhere, we're still helping each other out, because it's still the building. We're all under one roof, and our main thing is the packages, and the whole goal is still to come together. So it helps out a lot. From the work standpoint, because, you know, it's like in entrepreneurship, you almost have to constantly be going. You have to be ready all the time. And now we have 3 people who are ready all the time, right? So it's like, if I'm tired or I have to take a day, someone else is there to be ready for it, you know?
Exactly. That's really great. Yeah. A lot of times when we're on our own, it is very, very tough, and it can get real stressful. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the beginning, you know, of starting things up and getting that traction going, there are no days off, you know? So it is so good for you, especially, you know, you having family and you still, you know, being on the books as an employee with all these other places, you know, you could end up spreading yourself so thin, you know? So it's awesome you have them to fall back on for everything, marketing purposes. Like you said, it's a one-stop shop. So if they're in there for one thing, then they're bound to be talking about Thorne training.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have a certain like age group that you help or that you focus on, or?
Yes, our big focus is middle high school. Big push for middle school. One, because we have the setup here is really good. And then obviously, from a business standpoint, we could look at it as they're younger. So if we get in 5th grade and we do well with them, we have that kid till their 12th grade, right? So that's 12 years. And then after that, if we do our job right, they're going to be good, right? Hopefully play somewhere in college. And then they'll come back and work with us, which just helps with marketing, get more kids in. So like, it technically, you know, so we're straight young and kind of have them all the way in. But at the same time, our goal again is to really help. You know, we try to help kids out. Hey, come in extra days, things like that. If we have space, right? So our big goal is, you know, provide essentially a safe place for kids to come, a good environment for them to learn, and not just, you know, sports and athletics, you know, but what comes along with those in regards to like learning how to persevere, learning what hard work provides results, learning that, you know, sometimes life isn't fair. That there are winners and losers in life, right? It's just, how do you handle those losses? Like, do you learn from them, or do you let them as defeated? You know, use them as stepping blocks. And so we teach these kids all these things through the strength conditioning and through the basketball skills and through the athletics overall. So like, our big thing is we give back for education purposes, like things we don't learn in school. Like Milt Hershey was a whole different situation compared to like public. And I always had that kind of like, I don't even know what public school's like, man. It's like my wife, she's from Poland. So like, she doesn't know either what's like in America. And so it's like, I have no idea what y'all going through. I see the TV and it looks miserable, right? It's like, and so we have these, but at the same time, like we know we don't get certain things, and we work obviously within a certain community. A lot more kind of underprivileged-ish. Obviously we had to pay because otherwise you can't help them to a certain extent. And so we provide like financial advice. We have like these courses for like money management, course for taxes, course for like, as they get older, kind of fit into their, hey, look, these are things that no one's telling you in school. And so we try to provide those education aspects as well. And since we just throw them in there like before their training or after their training. So they're already there. So it's like, they're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
They listen or they don't listen, we're providing that information but we have it in front of them at least.
That is awesome. Yeah. And so crucial because you're right. I'm in financial planning. That's what I do. Me and my husband. So, and we see it all the time. And we see young adults, we see people in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and still financially illiterate. I mean, scared, fearful, unsure, you just taught to kind of do what we've been taught decades ago. Nothing has evolved. The school systems have not evolved to be teaching them those basics. I mean, even us, we went to a prestigious, boarding school that could have given us all of this information and then some, but it just wasn't even in their curriculum to, that we were taught how to balance our checkbook and write down, our expenses and then our income. And then that's pretty much as far as it went. But, we weren't taught the saving mentality and taxes and avoiding paying high taxes and, saving taxes in your retirement and so many, not obtaining or accumulating debt early in age and, not paying interest your entire life. So many small things that if we just catch them early enough, then they could be set up way better than the average 40-year-old who's big time struggling.
Say, luckily for us, like say for at least our class, so we didn't have to pay anything if we did the stuff right. And so it's like, I didn't realize how important, like, until I got out, is like the loans, like how much cost loans kind of hinder someone, or like it's like this whole burden on these individuals. Like, man, I can pay this on my loan. I'm like, bro, I've literally never had a loan. Like I had a car loans, I said, but like I've always been like I'm money fearful, if you will. Like that is an issue I deal with. Obviously, we didn't have money growing up, and then with Milt Hershey and everything was given to us, but I didn't understand fully like how to deal with it and manage it. And so like I'm always scared to spend. I'm always scared to have money. I'm very much save or don't spend anything versus like my wife is the opposite, where she's like, I'm gonna spend money to make money, right? So she's a risk taker, and so she's like, oh, if we do this, we can do this, right? And so like it helps to balance me out because I'm like, what we have? Like I don't have anything in the house. Like I grew up and I just wouldn't buy anything, and it's just like, why? I don't need it, It's like I'll be okay. But like these guys, like my friends, like, oh, I'm just paying off my loan. I just finished my loan. I'm like, bro, you're 30 something years old. Like you have loans like that, and it's like, yeah, and I paid a lot. Like I'm fast. Like I paid it off fast, and I didn't realize how much some of these people were taking out to go to school. Like I knew my school was expensive, and like, and I knew I was getting gangbusters deal out of it, but it was just like, man, like how that helped me out a lot in regards like moving on in life, because I never had to worry about loans. Like I didn't have any money going out that wasn't on me, right? It was just like I could take this internship and get paid nothing because I didn't have loans. Like I just need enough to pay rent. Right. And even then I could usually finagle my way into rent by talking to someone. Right. It's just like, so I didn't have to worry about rent plus loans or rent plus this. So I could take these internships or take these opportunities that maybe were low paying, but were able to boost me up to where I needed to go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's, it's crazy because the majority of people will be paying their loans off for the rest of their life. And that's just the nature of the beast. And a lot of these, federal companies, these federal loans, even if you had the money to just boom, pay the entire thing off, a lot of them won't even let you. So like, they want their interest. So it's set up to where like, oh, you have 50 grand. Well, you're not able to make the entire payment because this and this.
We want that interest.
We want that interest. So it is literally like set up that way to just be against you and for you to pretty much be paying it off your entire life based on this interest amount that's on there, you know, and
We're
that's
with a house.
top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're paying our house. Like, bro, like I'm paying. That's our loan right now. I guess is the
Yeah.
house loan. But it's like, how much have we paid in the interest versus principal? Like, it's just
Yeah.
you know how they have it the reverse way.
Yep.
And like
Yep.
I didn't know those things until like we went. I'm like, this is crazy. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
we can pay this thing off early. It's like let's
Yeah.
get that money. So I got to pay all this extra money. Your house is
Exactly.
100. Whatever the money is. It's like no, it's double or triple that after you're done. Like you
Yeah.
got to understand that like
And then
your house
people,
isn't that number for you. Your house is worth maybe that much, but what it's going to cost you is going to be, triple whatever you're paying for it if you don't pay it off early or you don't pay it off right away. It's
exactly.
crazy. I did not realize that.
Yep. And
Like
then
say no,
most
like you don't
people,
learn these things, right? And so
nope.
like say that's what we try to tell these kids and like, hey, look, this is it. Like the cost isn't always the cost. You got to look into all the other stuff involved with it,
Yeah.
including
Exactly.
breakdown and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's so important, and it's awesome that you guys are taking the time to teach them those basic fundamentals, you know, because it's all about like teaching, you know, practicality, like how to live a strong practical life that helps you, you know, progress forward. So you're not just on this treadmill, you know, and we see it a lot. People who, you know, are employees who, you know, work 40, 50, 60 years of their life, and the entire time they were on a treadmill
Mm.
because most of that money went to interest of all other things, their car interest, their student loan
Yep.
interest, their house interest, then they're refinancing their house, and their job just never pays them enough.
Right.
Like it's always just enough. You know what I mean? It's never to that next level of, you know, now you have money to store. You know, now you have money to, and then a lot of times we're not taught to live in moderation either.
Right.
You make more money, you want to spend more money, you want a bigger house, you want a nicer car, you want to, and people don't realize the maintenance fees, all the things that go with the bigger and the better, you know,
Very much so. Yep. That
because
was
we're
like
not taught that like moderation, you know,
live
practical.
under your means. Yeah,
Yeah.
live under your means. Like, because
Yeah.
that's not your goal. Isn't that stuff? Hopefully, I guess for me, and if it depends. Like, do you want material? Do you want experience?
Right.
Like that's what for me. It's like it's always been about experience. So it's like I've been lucky and blessed that way. Probably came from Milt Hershey just because we were able to do so much. Honestly,
Yeah.
and we were able to grow up without having the extravagant.
Yeah.
I guess I would say it's not extravagant, but that would be very selfish of me and very relative, because there's kids that grow up way less than what we had in Hershey, right?
Yeah.
It was just, the opportunities that we have were numerous.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so, like, again, I'm going to be where I was without that, just from the band, like all the experiences I had. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, having that idea, same thing. So, like, we always have almost always had multiple streams of income. And I didn't think about it too much per se. I just know, like, because, like, when I was even, before I had a private practice,
Mhm.
I was working on base. I then got a job teaching and continuing education units with another company. So like I worked for them, I created a course and they would do our marketing. I would just show up and teach class. So we had that going on. My wife, she's very entrepreneur driven. So she's always had something on the side.
That's great.
Sometimes in my dismay, it was like, just relax, we need to
Yeah.
have enough right now. We don't need, but so like she has a soap business as well, or skincare line that's doing really well. And we breed dogs on the side as well. So we have breed dogs, which, I don't look at it necessarily as a business, but it is, right? It's more of a hobby. I enjoy the husbandry of it all, but we breed dogs. And so we have that going in. And we keep it low numbers because of that. But technically I could amp it up and turn into a full blown if we wanted to based on the land that we have.
Right.
And so we have that going on, and then I'm also now creating some digital products to have that going on. And then potentially doing some more CU stuff again at this point.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're always interested, like you see with the Thorne Training Therapy, the one step away on base, and then also the adjunct professor at Mercer. It's just always trying to find a way so that I'm not pigeonholed. And a part of that, I guess, is like, one of my problems is I don't like authority to a certain extent, where it's like, don't tell me what to do, or like, don't tell, if I know I need to do it, don't tell me again. Like, so I always have this little, it's not like I'm angry at it, because I like to listen. I like getting good direction, but at the same time, like I'll always get a little itchy at it, where it's like, I want to do it my way.
Right.
And it's like, that way's all right, but I'm always trying to make it better. I'm always trying to do things that if you allow me to do it, I'm a great employee, but if you don't, then I start getting annoying, And so it's one of those things where I guess, like, same thing with myself, is like, I can't just do one thing.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to do a bunch of different things, which is a double-edged sword, because then sometimes I neglect what I need to focus on at times, and I got to pull myself back in, or like the patient will, like, something happen, I'm like, oh crap, like the business made me come back in versus me actually pull myself in because I screwed up somewhere.
Right. Yeah, it's like your brain is going, but then you have to constantly like calibrate with a priority check.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are the priorities now? Okay, let's go by priority. Yeah.
Yep.
Because otherwise, yeah, you'll just be all over the place and then end up spreading yourself too thin in that area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That same thing happens, I think, for me too. I start to get kind of overzealous with different things, and I'm like, oh, this would be a great idea. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But then and then I'm like, I have so much stuff in my head. But then I have to like recalibrate. Okay, what are the priorities? What's most important? What's most pressing? What's going to be most cost effective? What's going to bring value and income now?
Yeah.
And I start. That helps me kind of, list it out and spend my time according to the priority.
100%. That's I know. Like for me, I took so listen to my wife, but like, she teaches in business school, and but at the same time, we're like, it's hard to take advice sometimes from your family, because like I think I'm a rehab guy, so it's like, why don't you work? I'm like, I don't work with family, right? Because they don't listen. Like it's just how it is. I tell them what to do, but it's like because of your family or I know you're not special enough or you don't know enough. It's all, hey, about that guy who on team? Like that guy's an idiot. Like he's good as a good marketer, but he's not good at his job, right? Like. And so there's things like that, but what helped me get some of my thoughts together in business is like, honestly, like Nana Fortson, or I guess it's Nicole Walters now. She has her little business. So I took her course 1K one day, and she that helped out a lot, honestly. And so that helped kind of just focus some things on and like how you can, so that was also helpful. I just wanted to give another Milt shout out, but that was super helpful, and I still hang out with them. But like my wife helps out with all the other X's and O's in the data because she's real big in the data. And so it's like I have people to help me do the right thing, because I know my weaknesses, and that's why again I like to work with individuals, not by myself. Like I don't think I would have ever gone 100% solo just because I know what that would lead to, if that makes sense. I say that I could bet on myself if I needed to. It's just I'm married now and things like that, so I'm always gonna have a partner. And so it's just one of those situations where I do prefer to work with someone if I can. If we push them to shove, I'm gonna scrap. I'm gonna make it happen. It's just I don't have to, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's good. That's a good mentality to have, because sometimes that's that humility and humbleness that you have. That like I know I can do it if I had to. If my back was against the wall, I'll make it happen. But I still have these resources and then this support system, so why not utilize?
And they're better than me at these things. Right? Like absolutely. I'm good at this. He's good at that. Like why waste it? And he likes doing it. I don't like doing it. So why don't you do that for me and I do this for you, and we help each other's back.
Exactly. That's so good. Yeah. So how have so when did the private practice start? You said a couple of years ago, or?
Yeah. So I did the home to home starting about 2017 or so. And so then
since then, how did COVID affect your business at all, if it did? And if so, how?
Yeah. So we're in Georgia. And so Georgia's very like, they probably the state that closed the long shortest and stayed open, had least restrictions even during that time frame, right? So because I'm medical, I consider essential. And so like technically I never had to shut down. But people were concerned. And so we did have a drop in some things with the gym, because I'm at a gym. I know they had some closing, but because I am who I am, technically we had a little loophole if we wanted to bring people in, yada, yada. And we had people in Georgia, which is nice, say nice, but they were, it was very red for a very long period of time, and we're in a very red area. And so 100%, like they weren't too concerned about it. And so we still have decent people coming. We did have a drop off in clientele on base. I was still on base mostly during that time frame. We were sent home for a little bit as well. So we did have a little bit of a drop off, but at the same time, my industry, because they had to figure a way, they made a pivot and they made some adjustments to digital and virtual stuff. And so now that gave that a lot more relevance, a lot more, I guess, backing, a lot more support. People trusted a lot more. And so now it actually opened up a venue or an avenue for me to do more business, and that's digital. So I did open up a digital now side of stuff. So I now work with people remotely. And that was something I was considering from a training standpoint, but now I actually can do it, from rehab. So telehealth has gone gangbusters since COVID. And so that helps out a whole lot. But I had, again, having the private practice, having an idea, having some of these things under my belt early on, because they were in the back of my head, was very helpful. So I've started that. I got a couple clients overseas and things like that. And COVID actually helped that out, if you will, right? So that it actually boosted that side of things. Now it opened up another avenue. So in the end, it honestly was probably, I don't say beneficial, but it was actually from a business standpoint helpful.
Yeah.
Because it changed things up and gave me a little bit more of a larger audience now.
Yeah. And that's awesome. Almost every single entrepreneur that I've interviewed so far has been able to say the same exact thing, that, you know what, I never would have thought to go virtual, or, in the beginning it was really tough, but then all of a sudden this virtual door opened and wow, this is a great pathway for us now. So it's like that silver lining of what we thought would be so bad, but now it opened a whole different segue into a whole new way of doing business, and makes it even more simpler. Like, hopefully eventually, some businesses, I mean, for yours, of course, there is always that in-person, training that's awesome, that's necessary. Yep. And then you can compound it with the virtual training. But then there are some other industries that are like, forget it. We need no office. We need nothing. Everything 100%. Virtual now, So
like I did some of the courses I took where their sole business was digital almost, right? So precision nutrition is one of the certifications I have. And so their whole thing, they do virtual training and things like that. And and that was like 2014, I started looking at that. And so it was like always in my head. And then like I read the book Remote, and that's an older book. But it was like, and so in my mind, there's a lot of things. I'm like, what if all these other jobs go virtual? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like from an overhead standpoint, like if you have a business, just send everybody home. If they're just computer guys, like just do it from home. Like there's there's all these other reasons. Like you're gonna save money from light, electric bills, products, papers. Like you'll save so much money from a business. And I'm like, so I'm on base. I'm like, why don't we just do everybody remote and just base whole security things like that? But it's just like, and then the COVID hit, and it's like, because they no, and all of a sudden like, yeah, go ahead, go remote. It's like.
I know.
Let's waited so long, like, and then a lot of them are like, yeah, we're not gonna bring anybody back. Like, why? Because we're saving money. Like, why didn't you take that? But again, it's a risk adverse thing, right? It's a change. You have to do the infrastructure and things like that.
Yeah.
But it does make a lot of sense to go virtually on a lot of things. Again, like for me, I came into profession. What got me all my jobs was my manual skills, so my hands-on skills, and so I had to adjust to a little more understanding. But I was already in that process, just I think naturally. Yeah. Realizing like how to utilize hands-on like exercises to do what I would do hands-on. Again, a lot of times there's no substitute. There are certain individuals I work with, it's like you need some hands-on care.
Right.
And so now do that with them here. Yeah. And if they're virtual, I'm like, you need to find someone who can do hands-on stuff, because I mean, you can probably do it potentially yourself, but we're looking at 6 months versus 6 weeks, right? Yeah. And it's like it'll be so much faster if you can just get someone to help you out, just because of you just don't have the awareness, or it's just hard to be so pinpoint on certain injuries and things like that. It just speeds things up. And so there was that aspect of our business, but because we're medical, I don't think that will ever go purely virtually, obviously, like surgery and stuff. But because of even just emotionally, you don't want to deal with a robot who's doing the surgery, right? You want to have someone to talk to. You want to have the trust, things like that. At least somebody involved, even if they're operating that robot, right? It's just you need to have someone you can hold accountable. Yeah. And that's gonna talk to you, like show emotion, show empathy. And so, I don't think our profession will ever go away from a face-to-face thing.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think, especially in your industry, it's an absolute necessity to be able to, even to be like the very initial appointment where you are assessing the person's body, yes, maybe you can do that online if you absolutely needed to, but I think it's just so much more beneficial for you and for them to be able to touch and see and have them move a certain way, I actually started physical therapy like 3 weeks ago. So, when they brought me in there and, he was like moving me this way, moving me that way, and see this blood, it was a huge difference in doing the exercises there with him watching. And sometimes like I would do it wrong and he'd be like, no, you got to do it this way. He sent me home with exercises too, but then you risk those person not really doing them as much as, when you're in front of them or when they go into a facility in general. So, because sometimes when I go into the facility, like he's not even there to work with me. He just has me do, whatever he wants me to do for that day, but he's not there. He's helping someone else, but the accountability is I'm there. I have to get it done. You know what I mean?
Right. Not even there. He's there to potentially like, hey, like, say you're doing it wrong. And it's like, do that. And sometimes, like I said, that's the big thing for me when it comes to a lot of manual work too. It's just like, hey, do this exercise. And it's just like, no, you're doing it wrong. Do this. And it's like, no, do this. And it's hard. So then I just pressure here with my hands. And it's like, oh, there it is. I'm like, perfect, right? But virtually, you can't do that. Even if I'm looking at you or working with you, I can say, shoot your knees forward, feel the back on the wall, feel pressure here. And you just can't get it. But if I push you here, hold you here with my hands, boom, we got it all of a sudden, right? And so it's just like, that's why like in person, I still think it's very important, very useful. Again, the better I get at coaching and cueing and learning more people from a virtual standpoint, the better I'm going to be able to not have to rely on that. Right. So it is a little bit of a crutch, but at the same time, it speeds things up, right? And I'm not wasting your time. Let's say it's not wasting time, but I'm able to get you to do what we need to do faster, and for you to feel what you need to feel faster, rather than through like maybe it take 15 minutes just trying to get you to get that one exercise, or 5 minutes because of just how far off you are. Where it takes 30 seconds for me to put my hands here, crush me, good, you got it.
Yeah, and I love the videos that you do on your social too, because that gives people such like an educational background of, first of all, what you do, and then what you're teaching them in each and every video. Because I know when I watch them, I'm like, oh man, I don't know that. Oh, that was pretty.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. Yeah, I don't like honestly my I don't even know. Like this is where I've been in between, like cause mostly through Instagram, and it's just like the original thought was to post it out for other professionals because I'm trying to build the education leg. But I guess because it's sometimes it's heady. Some things I write is a little bit like above like what the person cares about I'm working with.
Yeah.
But like I get a lot of people who are interested in that. Yeah. And I guess it shows like, hey, I know my stuff. So like, oh, we should go work with this guy, even though it may not be super explaining why you're doing it. Hey, if you have like, because I could go the route. And I actually do think the big number of people, if you look at Instagram, we have a lot of followers. They're the guys who like back pain, do these 3 exercises for back pain. Yeah. Boom, right. Do this for, I don't have a lot of that on my site yet. And that's because I don't like shooting videos. But it's so it's cool to hear some people's like, oh, I like what you're doing, even though they're not in the profession, right? Yeah. I'm almost putting out for the professionals because of the education leg, and I plan on switching the One Step Away site when I post One Step Away, more of the do this for bigger jump, do this for like through those things where technically I post the same videos with different captions and explain, so do this to get this. And then on my page, on my personal page, Thorne Training, I would focus on like, this is why this works. This is why I would do this from an education standpoint. Yeah. And the other one is like, you want to jump higher, do this, right? And it's these 3 exercises. So it's neat to hear that, but like I have to think about that, and I really need to choose one. Just because, like I said, it's from a business standpoint, trying to figure out what works best. Again, that's where I have this help from people coming back in.
That's right. Go back to being resourceful with people. Yeah, I think it's good. I think even right now, doing a little bit of both, where you take the educational approach, this is why we do this and this is what this is for, and then doing those snippet videos of, if you want to work on this and this is that, especially now with like everyone at home just trying to get fit, get healthy, have a better lifestyle, fix their body. Everyone is relying on social to teach them how to do it, So it's a great way for you to get your name out there, for you to be branding yourself as like, this is what I know, this is my level of expertise. And if you need to know something like this, come to my page, I'm going to teach it to you, Right. So I've been learning a lot from your page for a couple of years now, actually. I've been seeing your videos for a while now. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that he did that. Because my whole family grew up with lots of body aches, problems. None of us were like, serious athletes. We all played sports, mostly like wrestling and stuff like that. But I think just, generationally, we're just all in bad shape, like scoliosis and body aches, neck aches, jaw unaligned, all kinds of stuff. So I personally love watching videos like that. And I'll always be like, oh man, I'm gonna try this because I want to, I personally don't like to go into physical therapy once a week. Kind of sucks, but
no, you don't want to say it. That's part of why I'm bad at business, because I'm like, look, I don't want to see you, like, not because I don't like you or help, just like I want you to do everything on your own, like I don't want you to need me. Right. So I'm always like trying to get people out the door. it's terrible for business. But at the same time, I'm like, look, if you have a friend, tell them to see me, right? My goal is to see you in like 3 to 5 visits and you're done.
Right.
And that's it. And I want you to be self-sufficient at that point, and you don't need me. And so I'm really bad at that. Where it's like, I don't want to do that. Or it's like, I feel like I shouldn't pay you. I should, I'm like, I should just give it to you free because I want to help you out, right? It's just, but then I can't help you out because I won't be able to see you because I'm broke. Right. So that's been the hardest part for me from an entrepreneur standpoint is like asking for money. And so setting it up where it's here, look, this is what I charge. Yeah. Like, rather than me having to say it, I give a piece of paper or send to the website, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, exactly. So what is you guys' website?
So my website is
and they say, you know what? Oh, I see this company. I see what it is they do. I want to sign up. What would be their first step?
So if they want to sit for me or so they're working for you. For Thorne Training Therapy, it would be, you go to the website, thornetrainingtherapy.com, and then you would go to the contact page. So you see kind of what we offer from a service standpoint, and then there should be a remote setting for virtual if it's virtual. If it's local, there's a contact me page, and then you kind of have some information there to just reach out to me through email, and I book from there. Just because currently I can do that. I have the infrastructure technically to have it set up where like it goes to Acuity right away, so they can just book a time. But currently I didn't have a set schedule, so it was hard for me to utilize those because it was like I was in and out. But now I'm getting more set, more rigid. So I'm going to probably end up switching there hopefully within the next month or two, where it's automatic. But currently it's just through the contact me page. I get an email and then I set it up from there.
Nice. Okay. And then if they want to do like the whole like package, then they go to.
Yes. So if we're for One Step Away, that's the package deal. If we go to, you just go to One Step Away Athletics. On it, also, I'm not sure page. One Step Away Athletics. I'll email it to you though. Or the Instagram page. It's the Instagram page is definitely there, and everything's through the website now. So you just go there, I'll send you the tribe, and then you pick the package that you want. We have 3 different levels, and you just sign up, and it's straight there, and then you show up. Like that's just how that is. So we have our set hours, and you'll see the times on there, and then you come in and you're good to go.
Nice. What do you think has been your biggest struggle so far in the entrepreneurial journey once it started in 2017?
So the big thing was, getting the okay from our doctor. So the scope of practice, being able to kind of get his or get their, whoever was going to be, is going to be in guy. So his, the oversight. So that was a big deal. That took about 7 months or so. And then now honestly, it's asking for money and talking about myself. I don't like to, oh, look how good I am. Right. And I don't know if that's like, I've always struggled with confidence. Like that's always been a huge issue with me. I've always been pretty low on my confidence, and that's messed me up. Like for the NFL, that actually threw me off a lot. Not because I wasn't necessarily doing a good job. I don't know. Like it was just, I don't talk myself up. And so because of that, I don't like putting myself out there. And again, high risk, high reward. That's always been an issue for me. Yeah. And so getting over that self and saying it's okay to say, oh, you're good at your job. Like, but I try to rely on other people to do it now. Like I'm working with a stroke victim, and like they'll be like, oh, we've been dealing with something for 17 years and we haven't seen anything like this in 17 years. Right. It's just like, cool. You're my second stroke victim. Right. This is like, or like you had a guy, yesterday, I worked with an individual who had knee replacement, 6 months. He walked in on the cane, walked out without the cane, right? He didn't need it when he left. And so it's like those sort of things give me confidence. And then they tell people, right? So I'm like, whatever. I even then, like I'm talking to you one-on-one so I can do it. But like, if it's like I'm blasting out to the world, I feel like I'm using their benefit for my benefit. And like, and I feel bad about it, but I shouldn't. Like I have these weird hangups. I don't know where they developed. But so that's been the hardest part for me, like the marketing / that whole sales aspect of it has been really, really hard, which is why I partner with people. So they can do it. Like, yeah. That's been a really hard part for me.
Yeah. I think a great way to try to look at it is less of like a sales approach, but more of a educational approach. Because I mean, I was looking at your bio and your education is so extensive. You really know your stuff. And then from just seeing that and then seeing your videos shows, I mean, I think the lack of confidence is really more like probably your humility, your level of being so humble. And I think a lot of it is too, how we grew up, the traumas and things like that. It does kind of cause us to um, just not have that self-esteem or confidence in general, Um, but as you see it as an educational approach, then it's more about you're bringing value to people. Yes, sometimes value has a price tag, but that price tag is worth the value that you give to them in the end, because he walked in with a cane, he's walking out without a
Right.
cane. So in his mind, he's probably like, this is amazing, I would have paid triple. And in your mind, you're like, I wish I could have done it for free.
Yeah, and at the same
So
time, like he's not. I mean, that was a good case, right? Obviously,
yeah,
that was success. Like I don't always get stuff like that, and so it's like, oh, do I charge him?
yeah,
Like obviously I'm charging him, but it's like I feel bad if I don't get like this huge change. But it's like, look,
right,
the human body's hella complex. Like
yeah,
it's crazy, and like I may be giving someone the right exercise or whatever it is,
right,
but through their lens or through their mind, they just can't do it appropriately or they can't get it. And so it's like
right,
every individual is different. And so like I have that issue where it's like if I don't hit a home run every
yeah,
single time, I feel like I failed.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's just like, and based on my profession where I know I look at things that are good, but
yeah,
my job is to fix issues. And so I'm always looking at the issue. And so whenever I don't do success, my mind is almost programmed to look
yeah,
at that, right? I'm going to
right,
harp on that. And maybe I may have hit, bat at 700 or whatever it is, or like
yeah,
even like 5 people came in, 10 people came in. One, I didn't get what I'm going to harp on that guy. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't
yeah,
get that. I didn't get that one person. Right. And
right,
so it is, I'm always constantly like, look at this way, look at that way. And then
right,
again, working with people who see what I do, they're like, no, you look how good you did there. And so like, that
right,
helps me out. And again, but again, then I look at that as a burden on someone else. Like, oh, now it's their burden I'm putting on them because I'm down. And so it's like, it's this whole spiral of issues,
yeah,
but like, it's not every day, right? I don't feel like I'm a
right,
mess, but like, I mean, that's like the hardest part. That has been the hardest part of entrepreneurial.
yeah,
It's just having myself as a person to rely on almost for like your success, right? It's like telling me I'm good.
yes,
Where if I'm working with someone else, my boss, they may say good job, things like that, and like even if I'm not feeling good, I'm gonna see that, or they're gonna tell me that, or I'm gonna see the numbers from someone else, right? And so I have to rely on all these other things, how to create my own metrics and KPIs that say, all right, you are being good, you are being successful at what you're doing, and then owning it, right?
right.
And being able to do that. But again, that's part of the reason why I work with people for that help, I think, honestly.
Yeah, of course. And affirmations, I've I started doing affirmations probably like 6 or 7 years ago. And at first I was like, how stupid. Like, you're just gonna say this stuff to yourself every single day out loud. This is awkward. But literally, like, through doing that, I learned how terrible my self-talk was. So terrible. Because
Right.
I too had like lack of confidence, um, couldn't set boundaries with people, always felt like I owed someone something,
Mhm.
give stuff away for free.
Yep.
Like, that's just, and it all came from a feeling of that low self-worth, or I constantly owe someone something. Everyone else is better than me in some way, so I have to give something of that. um, but through the affirmations, I started to see like my self-talk changing just by reading these affirmations every day. And they've a lot of them has remained the same over the years. And then sometimes I'll make more, or I'll, beef them up a little bit. But it really helped so much to start to see myself as like worthy. Like, yeah, I do give value. Yeah, I'm a pretty smart person. Yeah, I'm worth, what it is that I either charge someone, or what it is that we're exchanging. I don't know anybody anything, and I just hope, that I just give value no matter what. Hopefully my end result is, I hope I help that person in some way. you know but my affirmations help with that self-talk of feeling better about myself, and then just keeping that constant thought in my head. I just hope I give value to someone today.
Right.
Help, so I don't feel like some salesy person, with lack of confidence at the same time.
Yeah.
So I would say get some affirmations going, you know?
I have to actually do that. Like I know I've heard about it, like you said, like, and I think I've told people to like think it and do it, you know. And it's like, yeah, but like for me, 100%, I definitely need. I'm glad like I know someone now who actually utilizes them and actually helps, you know, in the long run. So I mean, that's I'm gonna have to look into.
I got them on my bathroom mirror. It's on my refrigerator, and then it's in front of like where my chopping area where I chop everything. I spend a lot of my time in the kitchen. It's like right there too, so I'm just constantly looking at it. And then I have some that I do with my daughter now, because again, growing up, terrible self-worth, so bad, and that I saw now as an adult. I saw how that has caused so many bad things in my life, bad relationships, you know, not being able to set boundaries, all of that. So for her, it's so important that I teach her these same affirmations. That's what, if I give her anything, I want it to be a very strong sense of self-worth, so that she's able to have positive relationships, set boundaries, feel valuable, not feel like you owe someone anything, you know, or that you're not worth the price tag that you put on yourself or something that you're offering, you know. Your work is very valuable. It is. I mean, your work is extremely valuable, and you should have zero negative feeling about having to charge someone, because in the end, you know, a doctor who saves lives, you know, charges people. You know what I mean? Like, so you're not saving lives like life and death situation, but you're kind of saving a life because nobody wants to live in pain.
Right.
Like nobody wants to just, I don't want to live in pain. That's why I finally was like, okay, I'm 36. I need to go to physical therapy because I'm done. I got to go through this, you know? So that gratitude I know that I have for my physical therapist is huge. So I know your clients feel the same way.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's awesome though. It also shows your level of, you know, kindness, integrity, that, you know, you do have that constant thought in your head. I wish I didn't have to charge this person, or, you know, you just want to give that person value, which is really great. And that'll come off in your business, you know, that you're a kind person, you don't overcharge, and your business is, you know, fair and valuable, you know. So let's get into our next question. How do you think, so since 2017, since starting the business, how do you think you've grown yourself as an individual?
So like you're saying, I've gotten much better at like charging people one, you know, but like being like able to understand my self-worth, like look what I'm doing, because I've my price have tripled, right? Since then, and I was way low beforehand, and it's like, this is not sustainable. It's like, I'm not even gonna do this if I keep it this low. And then so I compared myself to like, all right, what are they gonna get from me, and then what are they gonna get from other people? How much does who I think is comparable to me from a skill standpoint? How much are they charging? How much is a basic clinic charge? Yada yada yada. And so I kind of put my price in there. And it's still gotten people, right? So I've increased numbers, so that's always good. And I, you know, tripled the price, and so that helps out. And I'm not driving to people's houses anymore, so I have that aspect going on for me. And so that was a big deal, was doing that, but also like understanding numbers and growing as an individual, of like prioritizing time, understanding finding what's important to me most. If it's like family, you know, the big thing for me was like, I know I can't be away from the family too long. I just don't like it. Like, I like to be with my kids. I like to be home. You know, we have a lot going on. We got a mini farm. So, I mean, it's just, I don't like leaving that to my wife. I like to be there. And so for a fact, like traveling for education, that was like, you know, I cut that out because of that reason. I was like, I want to be home. I don't want to be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time. And so that has definitely grown. And then just kind of people person, you know, grown more and more, being able to talk with people, appreciate things a lot more in regards to like what I have, what I see as certain things, you know, a lot of different lenses to look through because of the different people I've worked with. So that's been a real good growth factor for me.
Nice. And that's awesome. It's always good to, and I think entrepreneurship does that for every entrepreneur automatically. If you weren't a people person before, you're going to become a people person, you know, because you can't build a business without becoming a people person. You know, you need a relationship of some sort with your audience, you know, to bring people and to maintain, you know, your people. So that's awesome. It's a good point. And talking about that and as the point of, as in regard to growth. Because yeah, again, becoming an entrepreneur, I was never really a people person. Like my husband, when he first met me, we would always like laugh and joke. And he would be like, you hardly have any friends. Like you probably couldn't even go on your phone right now and, you know, tell someone to go to the movies or something with you or go out for a drink. And I'm like, yes, I can. I have so many friends. Oh my God. And at that time, I was a distributor. My brother and I were distributors. So we had a wholesale business. And I'm like, what? I have like 1,000 contacts, you know? And he's like, yeah, but it's not friends. Everyone that you know is an associate, is a business person, blah, blah, blah. So I literally was like, all right, I'm going to go on my phone. And I'm scrolling, and I'm like, oh my God, I have no real friends to call, you know?
You just ask him, hey, you want to go to movies? Hey, yeah, I got, see, someone's right here.
Yeah, so I'm like, and in that business that I had before, it was wholesale. So a lot of my customers were like foreigners who owned 7-Elevens. You know, it was a wholesale convenience type of convenience store items type of business, you know. So you can't really call those people friends. They're just your clients. But then as I got into a different form of entrepreneurship, financial planning, that was so much more about building relationships with people, becoming part of their family, you know, being over at their house, they're a part of your family. And at first, I was not good with that because I think at heart, I'm an introvert. I like privacy. I don't like having too many people, you know, that are such close relationship because it's hard to maintain too. So that was a big growth thing that I had to do was to kind of be vulnerable, let myself out more and trust more people. I had a big issue with trusting people. So everyone was at an arm's length, you know? So I went from sales to, I mean, financial planning is still sales of some sort, but it was so much more relationship building. So that was huge for me. Yeah. And that I could totally relate to you on that one. Yeah.
So on top of that though, also, you know, it let me know what I'm not good at, right? And what I don't like to do, you know? So it's like, oh, like I can do it all.
Yeah.
And it's just like, nope, I can't do that, you know? Like, and it's like a plate, and like I can, but this takes me way too long.
Yeah.
And so I need to find out, again, like help me pigeonhole down to working with someone for sure.
Yeah.
Because it does let you know what you're good and what you're not good at. You find that out quick.
Yeah, it'll definitely bring out it'll make you aware of your weaknesses, certain personality traits, things that you need to get better at in order to fulfill these goals that you have, you know? Whereas a lot of times when we're an employee, it doesn't challenge you in those ways, you know? Like you do your job description and you go. And most times like the company you're working for or you know, your bosses or whatever, they're not really trying to grow you outside of what your job description is. Right. They don't give a crap if you go to church. They don't care if you're a good dad. They don't care if you're what your mindset is. They don't care about your confidence level. They don't care about any of that. They just want your productivity, check in, check out, and then here's your check, you know? Whereas internship, it's your business. So in order to fulfill these goals for your business, it forces you to grow in the areas necessary, you know? So I thought for me that was always big for me is I feel like as an employee and then versus an entrepreneur, I grew 10 times more as a person
100%.
As an entrepreneur than I did when I was an employee. Yeah. Yeah. So talking about family, how does your business ownership now affect your family dynamic? Do you think it's given, and it's still in the beginning stages, you know, you just opened in 2017. So a lot of times.
And this gym just opened like this year. So
oh, wow.
So we just started like, I guess say grand, you know, we less than a year currently at this location. So
So in the beginning, it takes a lot of time to get it going and the traction and all of that. But then after a while, it'll start to level out to where it's consistent and you don't always have to put in so much time into it. But right now, how does it affect your family dynamic?
Yeah, so like I'm away from home, away from the kids, I should say, a lot more than I want to be because like right now, and again, that's going to be part of this just the business because we work with kids, and so we had to wait till they're done with school. But at the same time, in the future, they'll be coming here a lot of times in the afternoon because we have everything they need. You got a room for them to do their homework. We got stuff to play with, things like that. So like right now though, it's a chore, you know, stressful because I'm away from home more. I'm home in the morning a little bit longer, which is nice. Not work super early. And so I can kind of get them ready for school, things like that. But I miss the afternoon a lot of times because several days a week I'll be home and it's already dark and things like that. But I know in the future, my goal is to outsource that, have someone do the coaching side of things a little bit more than I do. I'll do more one-on-ones, more the rehab, and more the programming and making the metrics and involved, making sure we're making the progress we want with our kids. And I can do that from home. And or when the metrics from home, but I can do the programming from home, but I can do one-on-ones or another time. So I could have someone else here during the later hours. And that's the plan to grow into have hiring someone to do the stuff that I want to do, in all honesty. And that's not that I don't want to do it. It's just, I'd rather be with my kids more.
Yeah. There's another priority.
It's like, it's not about, you know, my whole thought process. I want to be an entrepreneur. But I don't want to be known as an entrepreneur. You know, I'd rather be a dad. And entrepreneurship just allows me to be a better dad. And that's kind of what I'm gonna look at it as.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And it's so true because that was a huge reason I pivoted from, you know, wholesale work and distributorship with my brother to then getting into financial planning with my husband, because with my brother, it was a 90-hour-a-week schedule. It was, I mean, if we were not at the warehouse and meeting with different other distributors and clients, and then in China 3 months out of the year to, you know, source and get some more manufacturers and stuff, like we would have no business. We were like little hamsters in a wheel, you know, and we just could not get off that wheel because your competitors will be right there, you know? So going into financial planning was very much about being able to get into an industry, one, that I don't have to worry about so much competition, counterfeit, you know, products that I have to make and manufacture and stay trendy and blah, blah, blah. These financial products are already done for us. We just need to learn them and then get them out to the people who need them. And then also it was about, as that business, you know, got traction and I'm able to bring on more agents, train them, get them into the field, it'll bring me back my time finally. So that's what I wanted also for entrepreneurship. Eventually was more time with my family. I don't want my daughter in daycare. I want to be there raising her every single step of the way. So thank God, you know, I got into financial planning before she came, because since she's been born, I've been home with her 100%, 24/7, doing appointments online. Yeah. So it's great. Yeah. Yeah. So another question, how has your upbringing and experience at MHS impacted you as an adult?
I mean, huge, right? I mean, I like when I was 8, graduated when I was 18. So like my whole life is like University School. You know, I'm pretty sure I got an argument with my mom one time, like, you didn't even raise me, you know, just like, obviously that was like super low, but like, like, what do you guys do? I didn't raise you that way. I'm like, you didn't raise me, you know, just like, it is, but that was low. I was younger then, but so it's usually impacted me, like, especially again, like I mentioned earlier, just the experiences, like the fact that I have to worry about money from a loan standpoint. Obviously, we didn't have any, but we didn't have to worry about financial situations, right? What we got for school that helped me out through college, a load off my shoulders, right? I didn't have to have a job. I didn't have to do anything, like, even through undergrad. Huge help. But even in undergrad, what helped from a growth standpoint as a person is the experiences I had. You know, we was able to go, you know, summer opportunities, the band, the choirs, the theater. Like I was involved 4-H, so I experienced pretty much everything I possibly could in America, right? Through Milt Hershey. Went to Canada, you know, all these different things. Was like able to do all of this before I graduated high school. So when I got to college too, I was living away from home already. So I got to college, zero transition. Like I saw some of my friends struggle mightily, like, oh, I'm like, homesick, what the hell is that? Like, bro, like, and so like I didn't have any of that, and that helped me out a lot. And obviously we as kids, we sacrificed some things, but at the same time it was for the better, right? You know, we for me at least, where I was and where we were from a neighborhood standpoint, you know, it was definitely, you know, there was transition when I was third and fourth grade of being away from home, but by the time I got to college, it was just like, yo, this is easy, and this is normal. Like I'm just used to it. And so that helped drastically. But the big thing for me is the experiences. Like I can empathize with people so much more
Yeah.
because I've experienced so many different people, right?
Yeah.
So the culture I've known her is like from all the different ways, so different where they are from, all the kids were from, all my
Yeah.
friends, like they were from different areas. And we didn't pitch ourselves, not necessarily pitch ourselves our holes into like cliques. What I see, like again, what I peer public school looks like, it's like
Right.
you had your good friends, but you knew everybody because classes
Yeah.
weren't huge, right? And everybody happened to be from very different aspects of life, right?
Yeah.
Very different places. So
Yeah.
seeing different cultures, races, all these things. Like I never, experience any like hate for anybody's appearance or where they're from, and I always empathize with them. And in my career, in my profession, that helped out a lot too, just because that's what I work with people, right? And so being able to understand where they came from or what they had, and like yeah, I know exactly what you mean because I had a friend or like I've experienced this, or so that's hugely helpful. And for me, I think that's a lot of the. I talk with my buddy, he likes to travel, and he was like, when I travel, I always feel so much more appreciative of things, or because I just see different cultures. And like I feel like a lot of the issues that people have when it comes to like dislike and hate is because they just don't know. They've never experienced these things, and you get it all. I got it all at Hershey, so it has drastically, like it made me a much more, I think, decent human, if you will, because I just experienced so much.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. I always say, you could take a Milt and just drop them in the middle of freaking any country and any state, and they'll be fine. They'll literally be able to get to know the people around them, get the people around them to like them, relate to people. Like we're so dynamic in that way, like you said, because of us being put in a melting pot together and having in close quarters and then facing traumas together, coming from trauma and then facing some of the traumas of dealing with growing up in a boarding school, so it kind of like locked in that connection that we have and that ability to be able to almost be like a chameleon anywhere you go. Just be able to be in a room and relate to anybody in that room and talk about any conversation that pops up in that room.
Legit.
Yeah.
I use that term a lot, chameleon. Like, what do you like? I'm like a chameleon. It's like, I just, whatever the scenario calls for, I can usually kind of come up to it at a certain level, right? And I may not be the best, but I can fit in almost any situation.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then like, a lot of it I attribute to the school I went to at Hershey.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true. That's exactly right. That's awesome. That's why
you say that. Yeah, that's
extraordinary. Awesome. Yeah, we really are. So what advice would you give to your younger self? If you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
So this answer, because I've always listened to another podcast. I'm like trying to get on eventually. It's a big podcast, and this is the question they ask, right?
Yeah.
And so I have this answer like always in my head. And it's like someone ever asked me this question, this is the answer going to be. And for me, it's do more things that I suck at.
Yeah.
And this is going to come. Look, I was pretty good at a lot of things, not great, but pretty good at a lot of things, and so that kept me occupied, and so I didn't fail much. Yeah. And so when I do experience, like when I started finishing a failure, when I got out of different areas, it was like, fuck, what I do? Like, certain times where I'm like, I didn't appreciate hard work, what it would take, because I was already halfway decent at it and I could utilize that. But like, learn how to get out of the grind, learn how to suck, learn how to grind. I struggled to a certain extent. And so I always tell myself I would do more things I was not good at. Like go and just do it. Take more risk in this, because again, I'm risk adverse, and I think that's part of it. I just never had to really what I felt like take risk, and so that's my big thing. Do more things I suck at.
Good, I like that. Yeah, because it's true. A lot of times, even the way a lot of kids are being raised now, it's almost like, if you tell them something constructive, critical, they almost shut down.
Yes.
Because they're just so used to everyone telling them what they're good at, what they're good at, what they're good at, and they just kind of stick to that. Like you said, then later on, when they find themselves not being so good at something, they come down so hard on themselves, they don't know how to handle it.
So I'm big on my kids. I know they're 5. But like my big thing is like, no, it's okay. Like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, why not? Like, well, I'm not. I'm like, well, that's where you practice. I'm like, that's what you get. And that's part of the reason with this gym is I really harp on that. I'm like, it's good. It's good. They're like, oh, I don't like it. I'm like, you don't like it because you're not good at it.
Right.
I was like, but you're never gonna get good at it if you don't do it. And it's like, if you're good at it for what we're doing for our intents and purposes, then there's no reason for me to do it because you're already good at that. Like, it's like my whole goal is growth. And it's like, that's what we do here. And I was like, so we're going to do things you suck at like all the time. And then once you get good at it, depending on what it is, if you need it, we're going to amplify it or we're going to remove it now because you're already good at it. And we're just going to make sure you don't get bad at it, So it's just like, and so, but I always talk to my kids because like same thing, like they'll get upset and it's like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to not be good at this. if you want to be good at it, you just work at it and you're going to be good at it. Like you just got to put your mind to it. And just, so that was a big thing for me though. I would do far more things I was not good at least try harder at them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so good. Yeah, so good. Okay, second to last question. What does being a Milt mean to you?
I mean, it is almost like an identity, right? You know, people say I'm a brunette or I'm this, like I'm a Milt, right? And so like for me, it just, you know, it's, as I mentioned before, it's about me having the experiences and me having a brother bond or uh, uh, this intense feeling of understanding that I was in a certain situation that other people weren't. Like I dealt with certain things that other people didn't, and I experienced these things. And so it's like its own little mini culture, if you will, and but it's part of just who I am. You know, I'm a Milt, and that's just part of it. So anytime anybody talks to me, that is always part of my conversation of where I came from or what I do. You know, it's just part of it.
Yeah, and it's true because it was half your upbringing. I mean, 10 years is a long time in those crucial developmental years, you know. And I love that. I love that you said it's like an identity because it's true. It is part of our identity. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, last question. What is your overall vision for your legacy and your future generations?
So I guess that's a big one. I guess for me, it's really you know, I want to make sure I've left an impact in the fact that I've made people's lives better, and that I just want people to feel like I've helped them get better, at the same time open up people's ideas to the possibilities, like to see what you can actually do, and you can do a lot more than you think. So being in the medical field it's always, you know, as technology increases, things are changing. It's always, and what we're doing now compared to what I was doing even when I was starting my career is vastly different, right? We look at the surgeries that are being done, crazy different. It's like you have to be open to those thought processes in order to make them happen. If you just pigeonhole yourself and you don't have this vision of, oh, I can do this, then it's never going to happen. And we talk about this at the gym all the time. And it's like one of the big things I like about our gym is we have kids who are good. And but part of that is like you have iron sharpens iron. If you don't realize that you can be good, you're not going to be good, right? Because you have to have someone there. You have to see the possibility. Otherwise, it's never going to come to a realization, right? And I had this conversation with someone, and I guess it comes up a lot actually in various ways. But I was at a restaurant, and it was poor service, like terrible. And usually it's not, but this restaurant was like, it was really bad, and it was like. And someone said, I think my wife was like, oh, they're probably doing, but they think they're doing a good job. I'm like, well, maybe they are to them. Like maybe that they think they're doing an excellent job. Like in their head, they're like only made 5 mistakes. And it's like, yeah, but that's unacceptable because it's just relatively to me or relatively to you, it's different. They've never seen what excellent was. And like, so, and that's where with my experience I have with the NFL and with colleges at the elite level, it's like I see what excellence is. I see the possibilities of what you can do. And so it's like I come down here, I'm like, we're not the par yet. You know, I have a higher standard solely because I've seen a higher standard. If you never see that standard, a lot of times you can't move on. The goal for me again is hopefully to have people's eyes open to see whatever you dream, it pretty much can come true. It takes a ton of work and a ton of failure, or at least even if you don't reach it, it's usually pretty high. Like you can do a lot more than most people think. Like from a genetic standpoint, I've seen NFL guys who have no business being in the NFL. Like they're just not good enough, but they are good enough because they willed themselves to reach their legit genetic potential. Like they have maxed it out. Very few people ever match their genetic potential. It's just they quit. Someone puts in their ear. You can't do it. Yada yada yada. You can do a lot. Like I've gotten guys dunking here in the gym, and this was like within 3 months. And for me, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that we could do that, right? So I'm like, man, now if you're in high school and you come here, you're gonna be dunking. Like that's my mind now. It's like I'm gonna have your bounce up like crazy now. Like I don't care how old you are. If you're 5'7" and above, you're gonna at least hit rim, right? And it's just like now that's where my mind is. So now it's like I have this new standard. Like that's the new standard. And so they constantly kind of raise the standard and open people's eyes up to the possibilities. And you know, and to do good things, you know, that's the big thing. Do good things and appreciate people. Be empathetic. I don't know. I guess that's a little bit of a ramble. Sorry.
No, that's totally okay, and it's so true because that is in the end, the importance of legacies. How do people remember you? What have you done to, bring good value to people's lives that you've touched in some way? To me, that's what legacy is. A lot of times people will think legacy is monetary or passing down assets. But I think that's like the 60th, 70th thing on the list.
Right.
Number one is, how do they remember you? Your kindness, your value, your intellectuality, the level of conversation you're able to have with them. How have you impacted their life in some way? And I think it just goes the same from strangers to your own children.
100%.
As your legacy through your kids and teaching them those core values of kindness and patience and treating people the right way and having compassion and empathy. To me, that's legacy right there. So yeah, no rambling there. You were dead on. You were dead on with that. So before we get off, I want you to again shout out your company, any websites you want people to know, and then any social media platforms and handles you want people to know.
Awesome.
So like all this on your description too, so people will have it to be able to click on and stuff. But you go ahead and shout it out too, so people know exactly what you got going on.
Yeah, so definitely. So Thorne Training and Therapy .com, and then Thorne Training and Therapy through the Instagrams and the Facebook, if you will. I'm on there, and then One Step Away Athletics through Instagram, One Step Away Athletics website, and then also One Step Away Athletics, and it's in Byron, Georgia, is where we're located. And so those are our main things. So more education-based Thorne Training and Therapy, and we're trying to get a little bit more applicable stuff on One Step Away from my realm. But One Step Away is going to be very basketball, athletic-driven. Thorne Training and Therapy more general health-driven.
Nice. And are you on social media? Like, are you on Instagram more or Facebook more? Or you think
definitely on Instagram? So anything that's on Facebook is pretty much shared from Instagram at this point.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. So, and I have a page on Facebook.
Yeah.
And when I transferred phones, I guess it connected to my personal page, but I seem to be getting more hits anyway. So like a lot of people like it more, or get more comments, more feedback from my personal page. So I haven't really made that transition back to sharing it to my Facebook page, just because I don't do business through Facebook. Instagram is kind of where the fitness realm is at the moment.
Yeah, it is actually. I think Facebook is a lot, family oriented, whereas Instagram, so many small business owners and big business owners are now utilizing that platform to get all their marketing, sales platforms on Instagram. It's funny because you wouldn't have thought in the beginning Instagram was going to be a place for business owners. You know what I mean?
Nope,
You thought it was just sharing pictures and fun, but it's such a cool platform to use to get yourself out there, branding. And you're doing such a phenomenal job with that already with your videos.
Yeah, so that was a huge, I'm trying to get better at that. Like I'm much better at it than I was. That's some growth right there, because I hate typing. So it's just like, oh, I got to do this. I'm like, well, I don't have to do it great. And like, that's a big thing. Like, do it like you like to do it, and then go from there.
Right.
And so like my friends, though, again, it's not comparing myself to others. It's a big thing. Is like, they do these long, right? I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And it's just like, that just takes too much time for me. Like, that's going to take me forever, because I rehash it in my head 1,000 times. So I'm going to put out what I think first, and then just go from there. And I'll go back and edit if I need to. So I have been. So I appreciate you saying that, because I have. That's been a big deal for me. Actually posting. So, and it has helped. Like, this has actually been very helpful.
It really does. It really does, for sure. Because I know it's gotten me, to see you a lot more. And now anytime I see you, I automatically associate that with, okay, athletic trainer. Owner, athletic trainer. Anything I need to know about that, I'm gonna go to Greg.
Let me know.
But it literally puts you on that, gets you in people's mind in that area that you want.
Where are you located?
I'm in Lancaster, PA.
Okay. You're in PA. Okay.
We actually were in Cali a long time. And then we just moved to PA in 2018, I want to say. We moved to PA. When she was like 1, she's 3 now, she's turning 4. We moved here so that, because we really didn't want to raise her in Cali. We wanted to raise her in a more like family oriented type of state. So PA is slower. My husband really wanted her to experience the 4 seasons instead of just one season all year round. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we like it. We love it here. It's quiet. It's nice. The cost of living is so much different than California.
No, that's see where we are. Cost of living was a big factor in the like, no, I can definitely change my career-ish trajectory. With your salary compared to what I would make and you make in one of these other cities, like, we can definitely, that matters a lot.
Yeah. And honestly, Georgia, like for me, it would be hard to go that far because of the heat.
So hot.
But
I got used to it.
Pennsylvania, I'm like, I did not remember Pennsylvania being so sticky.
No, I used to die.
The land that you guys get out there for your dollar is awesome.
It's crazy. It's going up in our area, but like, it is nuts. Like, it's just like, bro, that's all I gotta pay compared to like, my sister, she was in New York, like, or she used to, and it's like, bro, go. Or like anywhere up north in general, like, it's so much more expensive up north, right? It's just down here, I'm like, I can get that for that. Like, so we got like 9 acres, and we didn't pay like barely anything compared to what I would imagine up in Pennsylvania. My mom lives in Delaware now, so it's like it is so much cheaper. Now we're not in Atlanta.
Okay, so please stop. Mommy's working, okay? If you want to come sit on my lap, you can. Please don't just sit behind me, baby. Okay?
And I understand. I do the same thing. Say to the kids, I'm like, hey, I'll be in the meeting. They'll be like on me. I'm like, don't worry. No, not with a client, but like doing something like this all the time. Just on my lap or
exactly.
I'm like, hey, it's just like, what are you doing? It's like that's what I'm here for, right? And I'm like I said, I'm trying to be a good dad and using entrepreneurship to make me better at it. So it's just like, and I'm like, all right, it's been over an hour, right? So I'm like, that's my bad. Like, I get you were good for an hour, so I get it. You can go ahead and bother me a little bit, Try to get you not to bother me, but I completely get it. I completely understand your situation.
Yeah, totally. And honestly, it makes you more real to people too. Like I love it that she can come and hang out with me and say hi to people when I'm doing appointments, because it makes people see that I'm a real person. Like, yes, I'm a financial advisor. A lot of times people see financial advisors as like these high professionals. You have to be on your toes, but when they see me, I'm like, I'm a mom, I'm a mom, and this is my industry. So it makes me more real to them. And then, it helps build that relationship where they can trust me, open up about certain things. Because talking about finances is hard. Most people, it's an embarrassing.
It's a tough thing to deal with. 100%. No, like I said, I mentioned before, my biggest issue is the money. I have this weird relationship, and I probably grew up. It's probably from, like you said, my upbringing.
Exactly. A lot of times it's generational thinking, mindsets, the fear, scarcity mindset, all those things, teach us how we deal with money. So it's almost like mental health. If you don't find out what the root is and then start to work on the root to then get everything else to be better, then you can't really work on the top. Because it derives from that root that needs to change, that mindset that needs to change and become healthier. Yeah. So thank you so much, Ray, for being on. I learned so much, and I'm super excited to get this out there. I'd say in the next 2 weeks, it'll be edited, chopped up and stuff to get out on all the social media platforms. So I'll tag you on everything.
No, I appreciate you having me on. No, it's good catching up and just chatting with other Milts, I'm actually bad about that. It just I'm a very much out of mind person. But like if anybody ever in town, it's like you've never left. Like I've never been a second away from you. And that's like everybody,
Exactly. That's the beauty.
I think part of that is from Milton Hershey and just being with my family, and it's just like, hey, look, you were always there. And so so for me, it's just like I'm not gonna call you. Unless it's important, But if you ever showed up, I got a bed. I gotta come stay with me, bro. Don't worry about it. Like I'm just, figure out. Even if I haven't talked in 10 years, I just, unless you did me wrong at some point, I don't trust you, But it's like for the most part, it's very much out of sight, out of mind. I don't connect with people very often. But when I do, it's like, oh yeah, it's like nothing ever happened to me in my head. I know, some people don't get that outside. I feel like Milts get it better for some reason. But like I have friends I won't talk to, and they're like, oh, they get a little hurt about it. I'm like, look, it's not you. I call my mom once every 3 months. Like it's not has nothing to do with you. It's like it's just who I am. I said, trust me, if you ever need me, I'm there for you. Like I'll always be there for you. But I'm just not gonna call you on a daily basis to chit chat. That's not I'm not a chit chatty person.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's that regular, is hard for me. That's why I love it when people can just pick up where we left off and there's no expectation of, oh, we constantly have to be in contact, otherwise
Yeah.
our friendship isn't going to be good. And it's like, no, there should be no expectation. We all have lives to live,
Yes.
very busy lives, trying to make it in our own way, so it's and that's a great thing about being a Milt, is most Milts can do that. Like, we haven't seen each other in 10 years, but when we do, it's like time's not passing. You're just able to connect and chill and hang out. And it's funny because now most of my friends are Milts. Like, now I have friends, and of course all my clients, but now I could finally say I can call someone up right now and go have a drink.
Look at that growth.
Yeah, exactly. How funny. All right, so I'll guess I'll go take care of her now. So it's so good talking to you, and I will definitely stay in touch.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Please do. Hey, any issues like with your health stuff too, like if you're doing rehab, let me know.
Yes.
Because
I will talk to you about that for sure.
I look at things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where if things aren't helping out, like you're working with someone and it's not working out as well as you like, hey, I should just ask for some advice.
Yes, for sure. I was actually going to reach out to you about that because my issue is I have scoliosis, so my entire right side of my body is higher than my left. So I'm kind of like that. And now what's happening, like if you see me sitting now, you can kind of see it in my shoulders, and it's also in my hips. But now what's happening is my pelvic has been like this, but now it's like doing this. So it's like twisting forward. So I finally was like, okay, I'm going to go talk to my doctor about it, see what the heck is going on, because I'm having hip pain. And then, she did an x-ray and stuff, and she's like, yeah, well, you're already lopsided this way, but now it looks like your pelvis is pushed or like turned, twisted. So she's like, if you don't want to start walking like you have one leg shorter than the other, you should probably go to physical therapy. So that's where I'm at now. Gotcha. So he gave me like some exercises to do and stuff, which I'll be honest, I'm not the best at holding myself accountable and doing them. That's why like me going in there and being forced is good. But I'm also very like, I don't take anything away from the physical therapist. He's great, but I'm also very, I like the evolved way of looking at things. I know there are different ways of, just the typical exercises that he kind of gave me to do. So I'm definitely open to learning more and doing whatever is necessary, whatever has evolved, whatever can help, because I definitely don't want to keep living with the pain. That's for sure. Yeah. Progressive.
Just a quick question. I can't have a whole consult right now because I got see people. No. But like, how have you always had scoliosis, or was that
always? Yeah.
Okay, so it's like from when you're younger, you remember having it, and because like some people have it grown. It's like, all right, usually it's just functional, if you will.
Yeah.
And then it went, but sometimes like if you're born with a disc issue or something different is going to start talking from one side.
Yeah, mine's pretty functional. But now with this pelvic thing happening, I don't know where that twisting started happening. So that's becoming not so functional because I feel it picking her up,
And it's on your hip, not necessarily your back.
The back pain has always been there for lots of back pain. Yeah. Neck pain, a lot of constant neck pain. And then I always get like pinched nerves in the shoulder blades and the neck into the neck.
Both sides?
Huh?
Both sides?
Both sides. It'll just alternate however I sleep that night,
Sure.
But then like 3 years ago, the pain, I still have the upper body pain. And now it's like the lower back pain. And I think it's from, we had a lot of miscarriages before having her. So I think that played a big part.
Definitely does. Huge part.
Yeah.
Kids are traumatic. I don't understand how it's not standard to get rehab after pregnancy. Like I get maybe some other countries and cultures where like they're outside and it's like, well, your rehab is you don't die because you have to get food and you have to do all that other stuff, right? Where here in the US, it's just like we don't have that physical lifestyle.
Yeah.
But like fucking birth is traumatizing. Like it is insane what it does. And then people get C-sections and things like it's like, oh yeah, we'll just rest it off. Like, when have you ever been cut open? And then it's like, oh, you're good to go. It's like, no, you gotta fix it. Like it has no idea what's happening now. You just cut muscles off that like are super important to like movement and like everything, is like, no, you'll be all right. It's like, no, you got to retrain all of that. Like, it's just, it just blows my mind. I didn't have the stop process earlier, right? But now it's just like, bro, once you learn like how it all works together, it's like, how is that not this common standard? Like,
That makes
before you leave the hospital, you have hey, we're gonna start in 2 weeks, da 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 da. Like you almost need it. And it's like, I feel like that would be an awesome niche. Like you have childcare there, you have everything. Like it's, I feel like it's a big conglomerate. Someone would have to do that, but it'd be like a huge, like you could take your kid with you. Someone's watching them, so you can do your rehab or like have them in
that
front
could
of
be
you.
a whole nother part of
it really is
where a secondary audience can be, women after.
Yeah, that's not my passion. So like, I got a friend who I refer people to. I do have a friend who she's really good, and it's like I'm not against it. It's just I know she's really good at it, and it's just like, well, I'm behind already on you, and she's already going. I'm like, this is the best thing. Like I help people when they need to, but like I refer them to her, because she is a pelvic floor / pregnancy post because of her own personal situation, so she's very passionate about it.
Nice.
And so like she's really good, and so I'll refer people to her all the time for like who are like post pregnancy. Like yep, go see her. She's gonna help you out. If not, come talk to me and we'll collaborate because I think differently and like pretty sure together we figure it out at the end. So
nice.
No, we definitely will talk about that scoliosis and all that's going on. I have I have to take a look real fast and see. But anytime the right side shoulder is higher on someone, it usually leads to something overall because you're supposed to have your right side lower actually. Naturally, like everybody should naturally.
I did not know that.
Yeah, based on like organs and other stuff, but like you technically should be here.
I know it does.
Not crazy, but a little bit. But so once it gets up here, I'm like, oh, like I even gave a presentation. I said, this works unless your right side's higher than your left, then you're screwed. And I was like, because then you got to do a whole other process. Like you can't be general anymore because it's just like how you got there is usually crazy.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'm not saying you're screwed. I'm saying it's just not a cookie cutter case anymore.
Yeah, I know. I am ready to work on it. I'll say that. Before I put it on the back burner, but now I'm like, I got to do this because I don't want to live the rest of my life in pain. Stop, baby.
No, we'll definitely, I'll hit you up then because if you're having issues, things like that, definitely I'll be, we'll discuss. And so, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. I gotta get to work.
Yes, I will let you go. And thanks again for being on this with me. I'm so excited.
No problem. Appreciate it.
All right,
having me.
Bye.
Bye.